Welcome to another Big Moves Weekly, where we talk about what's in the headlines, what's on the cover of CNBC, what's happening this week, what big moves, whether it's crypto, real estate, political, it does not matter. We're going to talk about it. If you were busy out there on the hustle, on the grind, and you weren't staying plugged in, well, this is going to be a good entertaining way for you to stay plugged in on what's going on. And listen, it's a roller coaster out there, so make sure you buckle up. I got Mr. Woods Davis and Jay Kinder here today. How you guys doing?
What's up? What's up?
Man, doing great.
Well, you know, for everybody who's never really plugged into this show, today is going to be very interesting. And the reason why is if you don't know and you haven't heard, and this is true, our former president came out and was asked a question about UFOs and aliens. And he literally said that there were things he could not share, but he did admit that there were UFOs, and then there was some stuff he just could not share on the air. If you haven't seen the clip, make sure you stay on until the end. If you like hearing crazy stuff like that, then make sure you go down and hit that like button, and make sure you turn on notifications and subscribe, because we put out new content every single week. So where would we want to start, guys? Man, what's the big moves? What's the biggest move of the week?
I think the biggest move has got to be, everything that's been going on with this wild stock market, wild crypto market, especially. I don't know. I mean, it seems like every time Elon Musk is in the news, the market moves. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest stories this week, because I think it's going to have an impact on everything that's going on, the economy overall.
Well, there's only one person I know who's qualified to talk about that, and that's the guy with 1 billion shares.
1 billion shares.
You did. You bought 1 billion coins this week.
I bought 2 billion.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Where are you, up or down?
Oh, well, I'm down. Yeah, I think everybody's down. I mean, timing is everything, obviously. But yeah, man, anytime there's a flash sale, you know what I'm saying? You got to get it back in the game. You can't be fearful. You're never going to time the market just right, but it looks like there's a sale. And I think the news in China is what's driving most of it. Probably less than Elon and his announcement, even though I don't have a lot of nice things to say about Elon. I mean, he obviously, and he's probably got a play on the table. Like you mentioned it the other day, Mike. I mean, he's probably got a play on the table that we'll probably find out about, and it'll probably rally back. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm seeing, anyways.
Yeah, one of the things and I had to look up this term. This is a good term to know. I Googled it. I watched this entire show with Meet Kevin. I love Meet Kevin. And Meet Kevin actually played some highlights of one of his guests who had basically shared his perspective of the market. And it started like February, then March 1st. And this guy nailed it. And at the very end, at the very last second of the show, he says, well, listen, this guy's like a top financial advisor. He says no one's ever really made it rich with paper hands. You got to have diamond hands. That's what he said. And I was like thinking, and I had this conversation with you. One of the things is that when you're playing in the crypto game, it's speculative. You don't want to play with money that you can't afford to lose. And some of the biggest, I'm not talking about every time you win. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I'll share a story with you. When I bought EXP stock, I was at my son's recital. I ran out the door to buy it at $12. If that didn't go to $6, it did. And I just, when it goes from $12 to $6, your confidence is like, I'm looking at this 6-figure, and what I should have been doing is buying more, right? But I didn't, because it's an emotional game. The first thing is most people don't have a reason why they buy in the first place. They don't have an exit strategy. And one day I heard a sophisticated investor, it was actually Glenn Sanford, being interviewed also by Meet Kevin. And he said his philosophy, and I was like, man, this dude, and he was, Meet Kevin was like, oh, you're a trader, aren't you? He was like, well, here's my guidelines. You have to have guidelines, otherwise you're just trading on emotion. And with Elon, Elon is, I think Elon is going to be in the news. He's going to be in the news, whether it's for electric vehicles, which we're going to talk a little bit about that new F150. And I told Woods, you weren't on this when we gave it the first go. I said, that's Ford Lightning is your truck, and we'll be able to bring those in here for no sales tax.
Yes.
Will you be getting one of those?
Yeah. Well, there are 40,000, bro. Like, they start at 39,000 and some change. That's a heck of a deal for a truck that's got the kind of power that this thing's got.
Yeah. So the real thing is big moves week. So we have big moves on crypto, the China thing, and we kind of discussed the China thing a little bit. I think that I looked at what I ended up looking and finding out a little bit more. Does anybody know exactly what happened in China that made the crypto go down? I thought it was just the banks, and then I saw that there was also some regulatory mention of mining in China.
Yeah, I think the mining is probably the bigger piece of that. In all honesty, like they're cracking down on which is like a plan through 2060 and trying to lower emissions and whatnot, carbon dioxide emissions and whatnot. And so I didn't realize that mining was such a big topic. But in China, they've outlawed that, and they're looking for any of those mining stations. If you can't mine bitcoins, it's going to be hard to sell Bitcoin.
Yeah, crazy. So we got China, we got cryptocurrency, we got the billion shares. We have all of these different. What do you guys think is going to be the next thing with crypto?
I think you nailed it the other day. I think it's going to be a more efficient way to mine Bitcoin.
Yeah,
that's got to be the move.
Yeah, the big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw there was a headline that came out that they're releasing some like ETH 2.0, right? So that Ethereum's coming out with a 2.0 version that's going to be like 99.8% more efficient, in the way that it's mined. The biggest thing for me, man, and is like, and I'd be curious as to what you guys think. Obviously crypto it's like this new asset class. It's in by itself. And when you were talking about, like with Glenn Sanford and talking about, his principles related to investing. Like, what do you guys think is the principles that govern, how you should treat cryptocurrency? I mean, is this just like a hedge against inflation? Is it?
No, I told Jay yesterday night, I saw an article that was amazingly, they said it was about, it wasn't an article, it was a video, but it said, people who don't understand crypto, it's like the internet. It'd be like saying that the internet was for baseball, right? It would be like, so the whole explanation, it was an amazing, I'll share it with you guys. I'll put a link to it in the description. But this gentleman, he's got the #1 followed crypto channel, and he was basically
this is the guy that created Ethereum, right?
No, this is a different guy. This is the guy who it's like bit something. And he was chiming in on Chamath's opinion. So he plays this reel of Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett saying that the coins had no value. And then Chamath comes in on CNBC and says, listen, you invest where you have areas of expertise. I've always been a Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger fan. They obviously have no expertise here. And the coin was real low. They fast forward 4 years later. Now Chamath, who was a former executive, one of the first employees at Facebook. Before that, worked at AOL, and now is doing a lot of different SPACs. Is just got a merger approved for SoFi and social, whatever the name,
ticker symbol IPOE.
Yeah, IPOE. Yeah, and so and he comes out and says, "Listen, in any market, whether it's the Google or the Facebook, the first mover," he says, "but Ethereum, it's worth nothing." And the way that he positioned it, and so this guy was like basically giving his opinion between both. And they were like, well, Chamath's logic that he used to discredit Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger is the same logic to discredit him. And then that's when he chimed in and he said, listen, if you look at all of these coins, each coin has a function. And so to your question, Woods, I think that you have to, like any investment, you have to understand the market. If somebody out there is going out and trying to create, DVDs, we know that's not a good market. But if somebody's out there using the technology of blockchain to increase and solve a real problem, and they're doing it under a coin in which you can invest in, then that's the real way that you would invite. I think you have to understand what the coin is doing, or you're just in it to make money and you're just trying to trade the swings. Then you better understand the different charts and understand that the money you're playing with, you could lose. Right. That would be my opinion.
That was a really good explanation of how you should look at it. And that the latter part is it's a gamble, right? So like take your chips off the table, play with house money.
There you go.
That's the same philosophy. I mean, you're literally you're gambling. If you're betting, Shiba Inu, if you're, Doge, like they don't have functions. If they develop functions for those coins, then that's a different story. Fundamentally, you can invest in it for the long term or what you believe, that function is going to be adding value.
Right.
But a lot of this stuff and a lot of the pump and, if you get into any of the wormholes on TikTok or any of that kind of stuff, it's all a bunch of hype, right? And there's even a website out there that measures the amount of hype a particular coin's getting, so you can see which ones are getting hyped if you want to get in or you want to get out or whatever. And it's that's just a gambling game. But that's not what crypto is, in my opinion.
100%.
So let me ask, so are you guys going to continue to, to invest in crypto, continue to buy in? I did admit I did buy in. I tried to buy the dip yesterday in some Bitcoin. And I got a little bit later in. I think I bought in at 30. I think it was like 35.3. I think it dipped down to like 33 or something, maybe yesterday. What's your guys' thoughts? I mean, you guys going to continue to buy in, or do you guys think that this thing's going to run a little bit and there's going to be some more dips? I mean, what are you guys' thoughts?
I only have one philosophy, and this is the philosophy. In my entire life, I could have always bought it cheaper. Always, always, always. So, if I'm going to just try to stay in the news and buy into something that I believe in Ethereum. I believe in the smart contracts. I believe in the problems that they're solving. That's what I like right now, personally. And there's things out there where I could gamble, but I'm not really into the gambling. And I do believe that I personally believe what Jay was saying earlier, that Elon has. Listen, Elon might be an alien. And here's what I want y'all. I don't know if you know this, but there was a book. Did y'all see the book that was written in 1956 by a rocket scientist out of Germany? That about have y'all seen this? Y'all know what I'm talking about?
No.
So this is unreal, bro. I surfed into this yesterday, really after our show when we went through the kind of the notes. Check this out. Look up a book written going to Mars, and the main character is a rocket scientist. It's a huge story, but they tweeted it. The guy who wrote it, the main character who colonizes Mars, his name is Elon. And dude, it's crazy. Elon, when they tagged him in it, he says, I want to know if this is true or not. And there's a whole list, like kind of like a trail of, the history on this book, this history on this guy who wrote the book, his name, why he chose the name Elon out of all names to colonize Mars. Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts, man.
Yeah, Elon even thought it was crazy. So I don't know. He's the one that says we might be living in a simulation. I mean, think about it. He could have wrote the book to colonize any planet. He chose Mars. If you go look at the what planets we did not know of in the 1950s, there's planets that we know. I read it one time and I was shocked at like what planets we discovered in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Look it up. The planets we didn't know of. And so for this guy to write a book in the 50s and randomly name the dude, how many Elons y'all know?
One.
Yeah.
I know one Elon, and there's a book about him colonizing Mars. Crazy.
It definitely feels like, dude, if this is a simulation, like I said, I think Elon, it feels like he's got the cheat code because, I mean, it feels like he's hitting.
He got some bugs. But yeah, so he's in the news on everything. So let's talk about this F-150. You said you're a buyer?
What's that for?
Yeah, the F-150? You say the F-150?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's a reasonable price for a bad to the bone truck.
Ford makes a great truck too.
They do, yeah. They're gonna wreak havoc on. I mean, I was looking at, the smartest play Tesla had was, they had 10 years ago they had the charging stations out, so they've got 900 plus stations around the country. Ford has like 500, but so I'm sure they'll catch up. You know what I'm saying? But Tesla they had the first mover advantage, but Ford has economies of scale, the ability to crank out a ton of these trucks. So, this will be interesting.
Here's something for you that came out this week. So with Michael Burry, This was a while back. So you got to file a certain document if you trade over 100 million. And this document where you have to disclose all your trades. 40% of his trade of his position is shorting Tesla. $530 million short. Tesla's down 20% from the first of the year. And, you know, the reason that he's shorting Tesla, you know, obviously is all speculative. No one really knows. But if you look at his other 10 trades, he's bullish on Google, he's bullish on Facebook, but he's shorting Tesla 580 million. I'm sorry, 500. Who cares? It's over $500 million, right? And so anyway, long story short, if you look at Tesla, there was there's somebody who's over the currency who's trying to regulate crypto. Here's what they said. They basically said this week, it was a suggestion, and I wrote the notes down. I don't have any of my notes, but basically this individual said that that any company that happens to be in, they talked about all of these green spaces, like if it was basically sounded like they were going to take away any of the regulatory or credits, or they were going to make it difficult for people who are taking things from the government that are also taking advantage of this crypto. And here's kind of some of the underlining things that we talked about. First of all, people buying crypto right now, they're buying crypto with money they probably shouldn't be buying crypto. And the problem is if they would have put that money in the bank, it's federally protected, right? We have the FDIC up to $250,000, I believe. And so that money's not protected. And so this agency, this government agency that's supposed to be out there to protect not only the U.S. currency, but also the U.S. people is, in my opinion, taking a direct shot at what Elon's up to. I don't know if y'all read any of that or saw any of that.
Well, I know that, you know, one of the big things when it comes to this whole idea of like Ford coming out with this Ford F-150 and other automakers starting to catch up with electric vehicles and starting, like Jay was talking about, they have these economies of scale and these infrastructures in place. And especially Ford with the F-150 brand. I mean, that's the most, you know, iconic truck. It's definitely the truck of the masses, and I think they're going to just absolutely go nuts.
Would you buy one?
Vehicle? I would, dude. I actually did some research yesterday. The two-way charging system, you install this charging port in your house, and it actually charges the truck, and then you can actually take power back from the truck to run as a generator for your house. So, I mean, it's incredible what they've done. And I think the utility of it is going to be even better, especially now that you got a front truck or a front trunk on the truck. You can just have more stuff, which is one of the challenges with a truck if you have an open bed, right? But now you can store stuff in a front truck. Anyways, I think it's going to crush. But the real story here is going back to the whole
tax credits.
These green companies, and the tax credits.
Yeah, that's the story of that's why Michael is shorting the company. Is he said they are unprofitable. Tesla's unprofitable without those credits.
I didn't get to do the research on why Tesla no longer qualifies. Do they just have a time period that they qualified for those tax credits?
No, they sell them. They buy other car companies that don't have them buy them. They just have so many of them. But other companies, as they create their own electric vehicles, they get awarded those credits and they don't have to buy them from Tesla. And it's on their balance sheet right now as an income stream. Right. And it's very big because companies like Ford, who are about to release their number one selling vehicle and electric, they're going to get a months of credits. So they used to purchase credits from Tesla. Right. And so as other companies roll out electric vehicles, they'll no longer buy those credits. And what this Michael, the guy, the movie The Big Short was about, he said that they're unprofitable. They are unprofitable without the credits. And as time goes by and other car makers start getting into the electric vehicle, that revenue is going to dry up and they're going to have to address the real problems of being profitable. And just to put, when that article actually first came out, because that wasn't this week, but when that article first came out, Elon wrote an article to all of the employees, referenced his tweet, and said he's right. Then the Security Exchange Commission came in and told Michael Burry, because he was basically talking about all of the other trades that he was making in regards to inflation. And he was using this country in Germany that basically drove their currency down to zero. And he was referencing these things. The SEC came out and regulated him and made him delete all of his tweets and delete his Twitter profile. And there's still a website where all those tweets still live. But he was, basically for future pacing, and they were calling it, he was creating, I don't know what the word is. I can't.
Panic in the market.
Yeah.
Or something like
yeah. And so so he had to delete all of his tweets, but they're all still on this one website.
Right.
And he had to actually delete his user account.
Right.
I mean, guys, think about how many times we've learned this just in the course of business, where you have multiple product lines, right? And you have multiple streams of income coming into a business. Think about just think about your experiences, right? Think about even like having a big, maybe affiliate stream of income, or you have some big product that doesn't have a lot of tail, that's almost just like pure profit going to the bottom line, right? That's what Tesla had with selling these green credits. They had this almost this pure profit stream flowing into the company. And now, if that starts to tail off and kind of go away because of these other automakers, then they're down to the brass tacks of the core product and the margins associated with the core product, which is really, where these other automakers and these other companies have been living on forever, right? So they've mastered all of, keeping that type of revenue stream, profitable. But the real question is, Elon Musk is a brilliant guy. So is he not going to, diversify into other revenue streams that are going to net out the same type of outcome for Tesla? Tesla, you can argue that Tesla is like an energy company. They got with solar roofs and just batteries and all kinds of stuff. So, I'm sure that guy is going to find a way. I would not bet against Elon Musk in the long term at all.
Right.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But the fact that he was putting that out to his employees, and I'm guessing in a hope to motivate them to find a better way to build the car cheaper, that's pretty telling.
Yeah, because they're mostly shareholders.
Right.
Some of the biggest shareholders got that email and were like, "Hey, he's right." And if you want to stay in the game and keep all your shares, but he's a smart guy, and if he can refill the space station and colonize Mars, he certainly can figure it out. So, and colonizing Mars, that's a whole different discussion. He's not just colonizing Mars; he's giving internet to people everywhere. But the raw material up there outside of like diamonds and stuff that they say that he could bring back. And he thinks of everything. I don't know if you ever saw where he thought of like one of the biggest things in interplanetary travel is the riskiest part is getting out of the solar system, or getting out of atmosphere. And he says that's the hardest part. That's where the most risk is. That's where the most you have to build a spaceship based upon all of the propellant, all of that stuff is the rocket scientist part. Once you're out, that stuff is less important. And so he talked about building a building that would go tall, as tall as, so there would be that they would be able to iterate so fast, because leaving, would not be part of the equation. Death of that part of the process would be totally eliminated. It would change all the statistics and, open up all of the other adventure that happens once you actually get out there. I thought that was pretty crazy, but could you imagine them trying to build something that tall?
Could you imagine sitting in a strategic meeting with Elon Musk? And
Right.
Okay, guys, y'all ready to green hat this?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
No, I would not imagine. They'd have to build it in the ocean just in case if it fell,
Right.
So if it fell, it would fall in the ocean, create a tidal wave, kill everybody. So let's talk about next on the agenda, man. So what other big moves did y'all see out there this week? We talked a little crypto.
Well, I'll tell you some big moves I'm seeing in real estate. Obviously everybody is, aware of the current state of the market. It's absolutely just insane right now, especially, where I'm at here in North Texas, North Dallas area. So there was actually an article that came out I believe it was in the Wall Street Journal, Actually, no, it was another publication, but it made national news. So there was a house in South Lake that basically sold for $300,000 over asking. It's super common right now for houses to be selling for way higher over asking. In fact, I was having a conversation with one of my agents yesterday, and they just finished closing a deal where they sold and they went in $100,000 over asking. And so it's just been absolutely crazy, this market. I'm curious as to what you guys think is going to happen if we're going to continue to see this kind of activity, moving forward, or where you guys see things balancing out and how you guys see it playing out.
Well, I know that there's something with the forbearances that are all coming due, and I think they're kicking the can down the road. Bottom line, hands down, if you're watching this, down the road, it's like one of those things. I'll give you an example. There's some times where my kids, I see my kids go outside, and I'm like, they don't need to be going outside without me knowing where, because they could really probably, they're capable of doing anything, right? They could end up in a well somewhere. But if I'm filming at my house, that's a calculated risk that I'm willing to take. Oh, they're outside, they're going to be quiet. I bet they're not going to do anything. So there's times I go check on them, and there's times that I don't, right? With the real estate market, I feel like it's a calculated risk for people. It's, and it's based upon where they are, right? If you have a problem that you're trying to solve and you need to get into a house, I'll tell you right now, and where we live in Dorado, Puerto Rico, your attitude changes, around real estate really quick when it comes to supply and demand in the current state of the market, because it's my house. There's a lot that goes into that you don't realize. Not only happiness of your wife, your kids, and proximity to neighbors and friends and school. Living in a house and having the house that you want is a high priority. But when people start losing their houses due to the reality of the situation, whatever that is, and there could be a million things that we're not even thinking about that could cause that: inflation, the dollar going down. There's so many things. I believe right now, if you're smart and you actually are seeking that, when these big moves are happening in the marketplace, when crypto's falling by 40%. I just saw lumber prices had a swing this week by 10%, and there's like some actual big controversy around these lumber prices and what's really keeping them up. When you have big swings in the market like that, if for the people, this is what it's called, for the smart money, they're making money. These swings are exactly the volatility in which they understand the underlying moves. And real estate is a play. The question is are they going to let people stay in their homes? Are they going to continue to let people, like we talked about on one of the first episodes, where they're going to be able to just tack on another 10 years to their mortgage? If they let people keep their houses, and they continue to give different policies, somebody's holding that bag, and I don't know who's going to be stuck holding the bag at the end of the day. It seems like it's always the banks, but the banks are reporting record numbers, and, I would just follow the smart money. The smart money is I think out there, and they believe that inflation is going to affect the dollar. Your dollar is going to buy less products and services. There's all kinds of reports out there that show. I thought it was just Puerto Rico. I don't know if it's like that in Frisco, but I know when I go to the grocery store, my bill's a lot higher than it used to be.
Yeah. Everything that we buy, from fruit, the steaks, like Amber showed me that she had bought, 4 ribeyes. It was $80. You know what I'm saying? Like in just one package. That was $40 like a year ago. You know what I'm saying? Even here in Puerto Rico, it was cheap. It's not that expensive. And so you see these prices are already changing dramatically across the board in just about everything that you buy. Right. So what does that tell you that's coming? That is a sign of inflation if I've ever seen it. That drives everything up. So the price of housing has to go up if the price of lumber is going up. So we're going to continue to see appreciation in housing like we've never seen. The best thing you can do is, buy a house today and pay it back with tomorrow's money, right?
Yeah.
Like that's when there's inflation, this is the best time to buy. So like whatever you're buying today, you're going to be paying it back with a dollar that's weaker than when you made the deal. right? And so we're going to see appreciation. We still have a shortage of housing across the country. There's no question about that. You can't fix that with just overnight. We have to increase production of housing, period. And then, I was looking at the Keeping Current Matters.
Yeah.
I was listening to the most recent one, and there's been several people that made good on their on the moratorium on the amount that they had. I can't remember the word now, but they to pay it back later or whatever, like 200,000 of those. Yeah, the forbearance. They made 200,000 of them made good in the last 90 days. So that's starting to change as well. And so there may not be that many homes that go into, the foreclosure cycle, even if they were to let it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. I think things are just the signs of, increase in real estate prices looks really good for the future.
But what about jobs?
Well, didn't we just get a pretty strong jobs report?
Yeah, but then I saw something that actually argued against that this week. I mean, I saw both, so that's why I was asking.
Well, I don't know the exact statistics. I know that we did have a good jobs report, come out recently. The thing that's interesting, so traditionally the jobs report was always really directly correlated with the bond market. When there was good, strong jobs report, it was basically bad for interest rates. When there was negative news, it was good for interest rates because people were, more apt to buy those longer term investments. The challenge right now is, I think everything is so disconnected, man. It's hard to make these direct correlations with what's going to happen with interest rates. I mean, I feel like everything is literally driven right now by policy and by, government regulation when it comes to, Fed policy relating to, interest rates, when it comes to policy related to, things like the forbearances and the continual, printing of money. I mean, I feel like we're just in such uncharted territory. It's hard because you'll follow different people. Like there's different economists out there that have different opinions. I was listening to what is the guy? Not Peter Schiff, but Harry Dent, right? You guys all know Harry, right?
Yep.
Harry Dent. And in fact, Harry lives down there in Puerto Rico by you guys. I know Peter Schiff is like Jay. That's like one of your buddies. That was cool to see him the other day out on the beach. Do you guys know, does Harry live in your guys' neighborhood?
Not sure.
Have you guys seen him?
I haven't seen him around.
Anyways. Yeah. So, but anyway, so, there's these, there's these traditional mental models, for kind of processing some different correlations in the market. And it just seems like all that stuff is just kind of so disconnected right now. It's hard to know what's going to happen in the future, man. I just think that we're in for a wild ride. But I know that right now, I agree with you, Jay. I think, real estate's going to continue to appreciate. I think as just an asset class that, you want to be in an asset class. If we're going to be moving into inflation, I think it's undoubtable that we're seeing inflation. I mean, there's just no.
Have you ever lost money on a real estate? Have you ever been in a market where a real estate deal has went down by more than six figures, like Bitcoin did last week? Has either of you?
No.
Yeah. No? Yeah. Southwest Florida, I sold my personal house. I had to bring $150,000 check to the table.
And houses that still haven't recovered. So the April jobs report was disappointing. There's a big article that I had originally read. It's the jobless claims versus the jobless benefits. So jobless claims dropped more than expected for a new pandemic low. But the bottom line is I saw this guy. He's the CEO of Chase Bank, JP Morgan, and he came out and said, "Listen, he said this. He said he wrote a letter to all of the employees, and he said, I'm not doing another Zoom call. We're going back to work in July." He said, right now we're losing market share to banks that are willing to get in front of the customer. And he said, so we're not going to be a virtual company. I'm done. It was a great art. The only reason I knew that is because I was over here in Puerto Rico. The kids weren't in school. And I was telling my wife, babe, it's going to come back. People are going to be, look at what JP Morgan CEO said. He's saying all their employees are coming back, and I was trying to, because it was in Puerto Rico, we were running way behind on the get your kids back to school cycle. And I was trying to find some positive stuff in the news. I think his name is Jamie something or whatever. But yeah, I think if companies can get people back to work, man, I think the threat is the unknown.
Well, I know one thing. I know I love to patronize businesses that are not virtual. I love to patronize businesses that are open. I mean, maybe that's just kind of the attitude in Texas overall. But I can tell you here, everything is pretty much mask off. There's very few instances. In fact, I just went to the drugstore yesterday, and that was the first time I walked into a drugstore. And I can understand people being sick and stuff like that, people getting COVID tests and stuff, them requiring a mask. But yesterday was the first time on the actual drugstore in a CVS, there was no mask required. There was no, sign on that. They said suggested, but it was not required. So I think that the overall,
you're in Texas though,
lifting around all that stuff. That's true. I am in Texas.
You are in Texas. It's been different in Texas. They don't like, my kid had to do a Zoom with his class 2 days ago. And they weren't wearing masks on the playground. Here they have to wear a mask on the playground if they get to go on the playground.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is they reported we had the first time, of reporting 0 deaths in Texas. I think the overall number of cases was like 300 and something throughout the entire state. So obviously, things are dying down, and I think that's gonna spread throughout most places.
Here's something big that happened. They worked a deal out with those guards that were guarding Epstein. Did you see that?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, that happened today. That came out today.
I saw that this morning.
Yep.
What happened?
I didn't. It didn't have a whole lot of details, but apparently they worked out some kind of deal with the guards that were guarding Epstein.
Yeah, they won't be doing any time based up for their confession.
Really?
And the whole thing with Gates getting a divorce, the stuff that came out about, I guess he was having an affair. And one of the people that worked at Microsoft wrote a letter to the board and said, that they wanted his wife to know. And so they wrote a letter to the board. That's when he stepped down off the board. That was kind of like the real reason, supposedly, allegedly. And then, obviously when the Epstein thing came out, allegedly, people are speculative, but, now he's hunkered down in some house in, I think, California on a golf course, hasn't really said or addressed. So funny, you have these, he getting a little bit of heat, he don't know how to play in the kitchen. Some people, some people can take that heat, and I guess if there's a little bit of truth to it, he don't want to get too close to the fire.
Right. I just want to see the girlfriend now. I mean, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
you ought to know you ain't getting away with that.
Oh, but people been, what I heard were people have been hitting him up. I mean, line. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what his next move, his big move is.
I bet you he has a Tinder profile.
He might, as long as he doesn't have a OnlyFans account, we'll be good. And speaking of that, you don't know this, Woods, but for all you guys, I'm a big UFC guy. We'll have to talk about the main card tonight, which is No Love fights tonight. So yeah, there's going to be some good fights. I watched the fights last weekend, but last week, a guy that I admire a lot, Nick Diaz, I had the opportunity to talk to him on a FaceTime call. He gave me a shout. He was with a buddy of mine out in Miami. I guess he was training with Tyson Fury. I think is how you pronounce his name. But Jay sent me something this morning, and the whole thing, I couldn't make it up. I won't go into it. It kind of was weird when I was talking to him. Not too weird, but what was weird about it for me is like I felt like I had a dream, and in my dream I was going to help him. And well, I had been watching some of his videos, and I surfed into YouTube like for his comeback. And I just felt like from a monetization and a strategic that he should be capturing more of his value. This kid has done the Alcatraz challenge where he swam across Alcatraz. You know, he does triathletes. There's just probably a million different things that he could do. But Jay, you sent me an article that he decided to get into what business?
Oh, it's basically like OnlyFans for strippers, I guess, or something. I don't know. I mean, it's just, we talked about it the other day. It's like, these guys don't have anybody really looking after them. You know what I'm saying? Like, the UFC should do a better job of making sure they got, someone, to make sure that they don't make stupid decisions with, that's just probably not going to be a good thing for him. I mean, I just don't think that's probably going to be, and it's announced on PR Wire and goes out everywhere. And, that's not his brand,
Well, one thing I also saw in the news, I was going to forward this to you, was that doctor who passed away, and his wife just got his card collection estimated. You know what it came out to?
No.
Just guess.
Oh, shoot. Who knows? Millions, I'm sure.
20 million.
20 million?
Yeah.
Giddy up. Yep. Some of those garage sale fines would be nice to run across.
Well, here's what I wanted to do. Originally, I told Jay last night, you would never guess this. This is a card. What is this?
Panini,
tell
so
how
Panini
this
won. That's a new thing that came out last year. Panini won, and one card, right? So it's like $500 retail for this one card. And so and it they're definitely a special edition, probably highly collectible, because there's not very many of each of the cards, but you get one. and you better hope it's a good one.
So I go to Jay's house and he has one. And you didn't open it at that point. And,
no.
And I was like, man, I went home last night and I had to buy me one. And if you wouldn't guess, I go to Jay's house and I'm telling him, hey, guess what? I opened that card. I got bored. I just went ahead and opened it. And he was like, who did you get? I don't know. I don't know exactly how it went down. But he guessed my card.
Yeah, I said, is it a defensive guy? He said, yeah. And I said, was it Chase Young? And he's like, yeah. That's who it was. And so I had just bought on eBay, I had bought a Chase Young Panini One rookie card autograph, the same exact one that Michael just showed. And I was like, you're not going to believe this, bro. Like, yeah, that's a good one. Like, that dude was, I mean, he's a stud, like probably one of the top defensive players in the league, and certainly highly decorated coming out of Ohio State. But I bought the exact same card. Strangely, I hadn't bought any of the Panini One cards like off the market off of eBay, but I bought that exact same Chase Young card. So there's two out of how many ever in circulation are right here.
Crazy. And you did say he went first in the draft pick.
Yeah, I think he went first. If he was either the first defensive player or he was first, I can't remember. I think he went first to Washington. Yeah.
So when you're buying those cards for some of these, that aren't like vintage and some of the classics or people that are retired, you're really kind of buying into that player and their future potential in the league, right?
That's it. Yeah, it's speculative. It's speculative too, right? Like, you don't know who's going to ball out and who's not, And so, it depends. Like, the Patrick Mahomes rookie cards are going for stupid money, like sometimes $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for some of the rookie cards that are out there. And the same Baker Mayfield, card might go for $500, right? So like, you go win a Super Bowl, it changes everything, and depending on how their career. So I picked up a bunch of future Hall of Famer Antonio Brown, went through some stuff. He got him a ring last year, played 5 games last year. Ended up winning the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. He's coming back with a whole slew of badass receivers, but I think he's going to have a ball out year. That dude is just one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest receivers of all time. Going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I picked up a few of his not PSA 10s. I got BGS 10 autograph 10s, which are even harder to find, pristine. So I bought 3 of those for like average about $700, but I think they're probably worth $3 to $5 grand going into his retirement. So like I'm looking at all those different things and trying to and it is, some of it's just speculative. Like if he has a terrible year, gets hurt, or does something stupid, which is very likely with Antonio Brown, then his cards are they're probably going to go down by half, right? So
It's almost like fantasy, another level of fantasy football, like when you buy them speculative on, what their performance is going to be like. I'm sure it makes the season a little more interesting too, when you're looking at your portfolio of cards.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them, you go in and look and, players, it's like, this is a kind of a cool time right now because it's the NBA playoffs, right? So we already saw the play-in, which was great. Golden State played last night. They played against Ja Morant and the Grizzlies. Ja Morant being, one of the young superstars out there that just – I bought one of his NTFs the other day on Top Shot. One of his dunks, ridiculous dunks. It was a rare NTF. And I think it's going to go up in value because it's his rookie year NTF, right? So that's a whole nother game that I'm trying to figure out, right? I don't know it yet, but I might buy a bunch of that stuff and be like, what the heck am I doing buying these dang videos that I can't do nothing with,
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, but I could see, I saw how the game worked in the NBA Top Shop. You can't buy the new releases unless you have a certain number of things you've already bought, right? And so you got to qualify by having bought some stuff, right? Bought some NTFs. And so I was like, all right, I'll go in, I'll buy a few different ones. You know what I'm saying? I bought a Blake Griffin dunk, and I bought a Ja Morant, two Ja Morants, I think. But those are likely to go up in value over time. One of his signature ridiculous dunks as a rookie. I would think that's probably going to be worth something someday.
Oh, absolutely.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they move, their trajectory.
So what do you think about that? I mean, and especially, they found the new one that went straight into the water, no wreckage. I think that came out here recently. This is
we know they got better cameras than we got. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like the images that we're thinking about being blurry and you can't really, they got some different cameras and they see things differently than we've seen them. That's for sure.
That's a great point. So when I dove into this a while back when it first came out, but the whole thing was when they made the announcement that in June they're going to release all this information. So I was like, well, what the hell could be out there? But that was the whole point, was that with the satellites and the level of technology that they have, and other entities, I don't know what you would call them, but governmental departments and other around the world with other countries actually have footage, satellite footage, infrared footage. What, like you're saying, they got cameras we don't have.
Right.
That all this stuff is going to come out.
So what do you guys think? You guys think it's extraterrestrial, or do you guys think that it's something that's man-made, from this earth?
Oh man, who knows?
Well, I 100% think 1,000%, no question. I mean, it's I don't think that. Well, maybe if here I'll change my position. If it's from this earth, it's something that we don't know anything about. We find species all the time. And so there could be something that lives deep under the water, or something under the Antarctica. But no, I mean, I think it would be pretty foolish for someone to think that out of infinity that there's no other living life,
I'm going to go with alien. I'm going to put me down for aliens, and then whether either past or present, meaning, if it's some type of technology.
Have you ever seen one
that we have access to? Oh, I have, bro.
No, I'm being for real. Have you seen an alien? You have?
No, I've never seen an alien. Not yet. Not yet.
I'm gonna be the skeptic here. We're gonna do Sasquatches next week because that's another fun one.
So you think no aliens on Earth?
I don't think there's been aliens on Earth. I just don't think that people are that good at keeping a secret. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a good logic.
There's just too many people that could have been like, unless they got the pin like for Men in Black, think, and their memories got erased.
Well, the argument there is they're not keeping a secret. There's been people who said, even the guy that worked at that famous guy who got sucked in. He's been on Rogan. He built the jet car down in New Mexico, and then he went to Area 51, walked in. I mean, there's been a lot of people that haven't tried to keep it a secret. They've just been kept secret.
Right. Could be. We'll see. We'll know in June.
We'll know in June.
Bring on 2021. We need some spicy for 2021. Right. I mean, how are we going to top 2020? I mean, we got to get aliens, dog.
Well, that's it for this week of Big News in the News, Big Moves Weekly. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, make sure you do. Hopefully you've learned a little bit, but you also have been entertained. That's what we're here for, is to share with you what's going on this week and next week. So turn on notifications. We put out new content every week. Again, subscribe. And if you like this episode, make sure you leave a comment. I want you in the comments to tell me, what do you think? Are there aliens or are there not? If you think there's aliens, you can use an emoji or just put the word aliens. If you think there is not, then use a good emoji or a comment to describe the way you feel. Until next time, we'll see you next week.